Imagine a place that looks like another planet, yet, surprisingly, is part of Spain. An archipelago in the Atlantic, where deserts meet tropical forests, volcanoes rise above the clouds, and golden sand beaches stretch endlessly before an infinite sea. We're talking about the Canary Islands, a piece of the world more spectacular than many entire countries. Born millions of years ago, these islands were formed entirely by volcanic eruptions, creating 7 main islands and a few smaller islets, each with its own unique personality. In this video, we'll explore their volcanic landscapes, dive into their ancestral history, uncover surprising cultural traditions, understand their economy, admire breathtaking natural wonders, and, of course, savor the typical cuisine that gives life to this territory. Get ready for a 360-degree journey, where each island reveals a different face. But together, they form one of the most fascinating destinations in the world. Imagine an archipelago where deserts meet tropical forests, where dormant volcanoes watch over golden beaches, and rugged cliffs plunge straight into the Atlantic Ocean. That's the Canary Islands, one of the most geographically diverse and visually mesmerizing places on Earth. Located in the Atlantic Ocean, about 100 kilometers, 62 miles, west of Morocco's coast, the Canary Islands belong to Spain, although geographically they are closer to Africa than to Europe. This strategic position gave the archipelago a special role in history and profoundly shaped its landscapes and biodiversity. There are 7 main islands: Tenerife, Gran Canaria, Fuerteventura, Lanzarote, La Palma, La Gomera, and El Hierro, plus a few smaller islets, such as La Graciosa, the smallest and least populated of all. The origin of the archipelago is entirely volcanic. Each island is the result of eruptions and geological forces that shaped mountains, valleys, craters, and plains over millions of years. And this fiery past isn't buried. It's visible everywhere. Tenerife, for example, is home to the colossal Teide, standing 3,718 meters, about 12,200 feet, above sea level. It's not only the highest peak in Spain, but also the 3rd largest volcano in the world, if measured from its base on the ocean floor. Around it, Teide National Park unveils lunar-like landscapes, black lava fields, and rock formations that seem sculpted by ancient gods. On La Palma, the Cumbre Vieja volcano gained worldwide attention after its 2021 eruption, which destroyed villages and reshaped the local scenery. Today, the island serves as a living natural laboratory, where you can witness the birth of new land and the raw power of nature. Lanzarote, on the other hand, feels like another planet altogether, with reddish plains, volcanic cones, and the surreal Timanfaya National Park, where underground heat still burns just a few feet beneath the surface. This geological diversity directly influences the island's climate. While the Canaries are famous for their mild year-round weather, with average temperatures between 18 and 24 degrees Celsius, 64 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, conditions vary significantly from island to island, and even within the same island. Along the coasts, the climate tends to be dry and sunny. But climbing up the mountains, clouds gather on the northeast-facing slopes, creating dense, humid forests such as the laurel forests of La Gomera, a type of prehistoric vegetation preserved since the Tertiary period. Biodiversity in the Canaries is another spectacle. Isolated for millennia, the islands are home to hundreds of endemic species, creatures and plants found nowhere else on Earth. From the giant lizard of El Hierro to the delicate Viola cheiranthifolia, a purple flower that blooms only on the slopes of Teide. The surrounding waters are equally rich, teeming with life. Dolphins, sea turtles, and even whales are often spotted while traveling between islands. The coastal formations are a whole chapter on their own. Beaches range from the soft golden sands of Fuerteventura to the deep black volcanic sands of Tenerife. Dramatic cliffs, such as Los Gigantes, rise up to 800 meters, about 2,625 feet, above the sea, creating one of the most breathtaking views of the archipelago. In places like El Golfo, what appears to be part of the ocean is, in fact, a stunning emerald green coastal lagoon formed inside a partially flooded volcanic crater, separated from the Atlantic by a narrow strip of black sand, yet connected through underground channels. The contrast between the vibrant water and surrounding basalt creates a palette of colors truly unique in the world. And of course, the ocean is a central character here. It has shaped the coasts, influenced the climate, separated cultures, brought peoples together, and still today connects each island economically. Sailing between the Canaries feels like traveling through a geological microcosm, where every piece of land tells a different story of fire, wind, erosion, and resilience. Yet despite all this raw force of nature, there's also remarkable delicacy. You can see it in the green valleys of La Palma, in the volcanic soil vineyards of Lanzarote, and in the rolling Maspalomas dunes in Gran Canaria, a miniature desert framed by the sea. The Canary Islands are not just beautiful. They're a living geology class, a climatic laboratory, a sanctuary for unique species, and proof that even amid volcanic chaos, life flourishes with incredible splendor. The history of the Canary Islands is as deep as their volcanic craters. Long before Europeans arrived, the archipelago was already inhabited by peoples with enigmatic origins. The Guanches, as the ancient inhabitants of Tenerife became known, were part of several ethnic groups across the islands, all descending from Berber peoples of North Africa, who likely arrived between the 1st century BC and the 1st century AD. The most fascinating aspect is that these peoples lived completely isolated from the mainland for centuries, developing unique cultures with their own languages, agricultural practices, rituals, and even political systems, such as the Menceatos of Tenerife, small kingdoms each ruled by a menci, king. During antiquity, the islands were already known to Phoenician, Carthaginian, and Roman navigators. Records by Pliny the Elder mention mysterious islands in the Atlantic inhabited by large dogs, hence the name Canarias, derived from the Latin canis, dog, and not from canary birds, as many believe. However, it wasn't until the transition from the Middle Ages to the modern era that the archipelago truly entered the map of European expansion. In 1402, Norman explorers Jean de Bethencourt and Gadifer de la Salle, under the Crown of Castile, began the conquest of the archipelago, starting with Lanzarote. Indigenous resistance was fierce, especially on islands like Tenerife and La Palma, where battles lasted nearly a century. The conquest of Tenerife, for instance, was only completed in 1496, after brutal conflicts with the Guanches. With Castilian control consolidated, the islands became a strategic hub for navigation between Europe, Africa, and the Americas. Christopher Columbus stopped in the Canaries on his voyages to the New World. Their privileged location turned the archipelago into a vital outpost for Spanish colonization of the Americas. In the centuries that followed, the Canaries' economy thrived on sugarcane cultivation, later replaced by wine production, and eventually by banana and tomato farming. Yet, this economic development also came with exploitation, slavery, and the loss of indigenous identity. The Guanche culture nearly disappeared, surviving only through archaeological remains, place names, and a few symbolic traditions. In the 20th century, especially after the Spanish Civil War, the Canary Islands experienced periods of isolation, but also moments of resistance and cultural reaffirmation. With the granting of autonomy in 1982, the archipelago gained greater administrative control, although it remains an autonomous community of Spain. Today, the Canary Islands carry the imprints of all these historical layers. In their landscapes, museums, festivals, and even in the way locals speak and live, you can still hear echoes of the Guanches, colonizers, navigators, and migrants who crossed the Atlantic in search of a new beginning. The Canary Islands are much more than volcanic landscapes and paradisiacal beaches. They are home to a diverse and vibrant culture, shaped by centuries of encounters between continents. Spaniards from the Iberian Peninsula, the native Guanches, African influences, and the island's historic role as a bridge between Europe, Africa, and the Americas have created a unique identity: the Canarian culture. With a population of around 2.2 million people, most concentrated on the two main islands, Tenerife and Gran Canaria. The Canaries operate as an autonomous community of Spain, with two capitals, Santa Cruz on Tenerife and Las Palmas on Gran Canaria. Both cities serve as administrative, cultural, and economic hubs, functioning like dual engines driving this multicultural archipelago. The official language is Spanish, but spoken with a distinctively soft and melodic Canarian accent, a result of the island's geographical isolation and centuries of transatlantic navigation and cultural exchange. Local expressions, a slower speech rhythm, and words inherited from the Guanche culture add richness to this unique way of communicating. Spirituality is deeply ingrained in everyday life. While the majority of the population identifies as Catholic, religious practices are expressed through vibrant popular traditions. Festivities like the Romeria de San Benito in Tenerife, the Bajada de la Virgen in El Hierro, and Corpus Christi in La Orotava, famous for its breathtaking carpets made of flowers and colored sands, showcase a faith that manifests through color, dance, and art. Speaking of celebrations, perhaps nothing embodies the Canarian spirit better than the Carnival of Santa Cruz de Tenerife, often ranked alongside Rio de Janeiro as one of the most spectacular carnivals in the world. Weeks of dazzling parades, elaborate costumes, and contagious energy attract visitors from all corners of the globe. Similarly, the Las Palmas Carnival on Gran Canaria shines just as brightly, with its own vibrant creativity and unique flair. But Canarian culture goes far beyond major events. In the streets of small towns and villages, traditional music thrives through rhythms like isa, folias, malagueñas, and seguidillas, often accompanied by the timpal, a small string instrument native to the region. Traditional dances, such as the tajaraste of La Gomera or the tango Hierro of El Hierro, are still taught and performed from generation to generation. One of the most fascinating cultural expressions is the Silbo Gomero, a whistled language recognized by UNESCO as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Used by the inhabitants of La Gomera since the time of the Guanches, this unique form of communication can transmit complex messages across several kilometers.
Una botella de vino tinto. Una botella de vino blanco. 5.
The Canarian lifestyle itself is worth highlighting. Life here flows at a different rhythm. Time feels slower, reflecting a deep appreciation for social connection, nature, and well-being. People gather in plazas, open-air markets, and street cafes, sharing tapas, laughter, and long conversations without hurry. It's a culture of closeness and warmth. When it comes to safety, the Canary Islands rank among the safest regions in Spain. Crime rates are low, and both residents and visitors enjoy a generally secure environment. This safety stems partly from a strong sense of community, especially in smaller villages where everyone knows each other, and partly from strict Spanish laws, which impose severe penalties for serious crimes such as homicide, human trafficking, and sexual violence, including permanent revisable sentences in extreme cases. This balance between cultural cohesion and legal rigor ensures a persistent sense of security throughout the archipelago. Ultimately, the Canary Islands are far more than just a point on the map. They are a cultural melting pot, where Guanche traditions, Spanish soul, African echoes, and the Atlantic spirit coexist harmoniously, creating a culture that is alive, vibrant, and profoundly unique. Although the Canary Islands are not a sovereign country, they enjoy significant political autonomy as one of Spain's 17 autonomous communities. The regional government is led by the President of the Canary Islands, a position currently held by Fernando Clavijo Batlle of the Coalición Canaria party. The regional executive, democratically elected, is responsible for managing key areas such as tourism, education, healthcare, and infrastructure, while maintaining coordination with the Spanish central government. The Canarian economy relies heavily on tourism, which accounts for nearly 40% of the region's GDP. In 2023, the archipelago welcomed around 16 million visitors, a figure several times larger than the local population. With breathtaking landscapes, a mild year-round climate, and a robust leisure infrastructure, tourism remains the primary economic engine of the islands. However, despite tourism's importance, there has been growing local resistance. In recent years, thousands of residents have taken to the streets under the slogan, "Canarias tienen un límite." The Canaries have a limit, demanding restrictions on unchecked tourism growth. These protests highlight challenges like housing shortages, traffic congestion, strain on public services, and infrastructure overload. Even so, traditional sectors remain essential to the region's balance. Agriculture plays a vital role in rural areas. The islands are major producers of bananas, particularly the Plátano Canario, cultivated on steep slopes with fertile volcanic soil. Viticulture also stands out, especially on Lanzarote, where vineyards employ a unique ancestral technique. Vines are planted in volcanic craters, protected by circular stone walls against the wind. This method gives the wines a distinct mineral character and an unmistakable identity. But the Canarian economy doesn't rely solely on tourism and agriculture. Amid the dramatic landscapes of Teide National Park lies one of Europe's most advanced scientific facilities, the Teide Observatory. Perched at nearly 2,400 meters, about 7,875 feet above sea level, it hosts state-of-the-art telescopes and international astrophysics research projects, operated by the prestigious Instituto de Astrofísica de Canarias. Beyond its scientific value, the observatory has become a unique tourist attraction, offering guided tours and educational experiences that draw visitors from around the world. This combination of large-scale tourism, traditional agriculture, and scientific innovation sustains the Canarian economy. With political autonomy and a strong cultural identity, the archipelago is paving the way toward a more sustainable future, seeking to balance economic development with the preservation of its natural and cultural heritage. We begin our journey on Fuerteventura, before the impressive Corralejo Dunes. It's as if a piece of the Sahara got lost in the middle of the Atlantic. The wind sculpts the sand into shapes that look like frozen waves, and walking there feels like being in a desert that breathes the sea. It's a scene that leaves any traveler silent for a few moments, just to take in the grandeur. But the desert soon turns into paradise. Just a few kilometers away, Sotavento Beach reveals turquoise blue waters so crystal clear they look hand-painted. The white sand contrasts with the sea's intense hue, and with every step you feel like you're walking through a natural masterpiece. It's hard to resist the urge to dive in and forget about time. Still on Fuerteventura, the imposing La Entalada Lighthouse rises up. With its singular architecture, geometric shapes, and views over dramatic cliffs, it feels like a guardian that watches the ocean without blinking. It's one of those places where the wind tells stories of sailors and journeys into the unknown. From there, we head to Tenerife, where the energy changes completely. The colorful town of Punta Bravo is an urban spectacle. Facades in vibrant shades of red, blue, and yellow that turn the village into a living painting. Walking through its narrow streets feels like stepping inside an artist's palette. Vibrant, chaotic, and joyful. In Puerto de la Cruz, we find the elegant Lago Martianes, a complex of saltwater pools designed by Cesar Manrique. It's a work where art and leisure merge. Being there feels like the Atlantic has been domesticated, framed by stone and tropical gardens so people can bathe in the ocean without fear. But Tenerife also keeps its melancholic secrets. Casa Hamilton, now abandoned, carries a sad beauty. Its ruins, overtaken by vegetation, seem to whisper stories of a time when modernity was still a promise. It's impossible not to imagine who lived there, who once dreamed beneath those now empty walls. On Gran Canaria, the contrasts are even sharper. The Cathedral of Santa Ana in Las Palmas is grand, a symbol of faith and colonization. Its interior is so imposing it can be intimidating, as if the walls speak in hushed tones about centuries of history. A few kilometers ahead, the charming Church of Moya shows another face. Simple, welcoming, almost homey. It's the kind of place where you feel the closeness between faith and community. No ostentation, just authenticity. Soon after, the ravine of Las Vacas reveals landscapes sculpted by wind and time. The rock formations resemble miniature canyons, with curves that look hand-painted. It's one of those places you stumble upon unexpectedly and keep as a secret. On the island's golden southern sands, the Maspalomas lighthouse rises beside the dunes. It's an icon, a landmark of the island. At night, its beam of light cuts through the darkness like a promise of safety, while by day, it blends into the ballet of waves and dunes. Leaving sunny Maspalomas in the south, we head north to the island's striking Church of Arucas, a neo-Gothic jewel that looks straight out of a medieval tale. Its dark stone towers stand out against the sky, creating a dramatic contrast with the colorful town around it. Though popularly called the Cathedral of Arucas, it is in fact a church whose grandeur enchants every visitor. Continuing north, we reach the small island of La Graciosa and its main village, Caleta de Cebo. There, whitewashed houses and a slow rhythm of life make you feel that time runs differently. It's the kind of place where even the sound of boats feels like music. From there, we cross to neighboring Lanzarote, where the Yanubio salt flats turn human labor into art. The salt reflects shades of pink, blue, and silver as the sun shifts position, creating an almost hypnotic visual spectacle. Just minutes away, the Del Cuervo volcano takes us to another planet. Walking through its crater is like standing in a lunar setting, where only the wind breaks the silence. It's a reminder of the volcanic force that gave birth to all the islands. From above, Mirador del Rio wraps up Lanzarote in triumphant fashion. The view toward La Graciosa is so vast it seems endless. It feels like gazing at the threshold between land and infinity. On La Palma, nature takes on dramatic tones. Porres de la Candelaria is a sea-carved cave, where the waves pound like ancestral drums. It's a place that mixes fear and fascination, like a secret doorway to another world. A few kilometers away, the Los Tilos Bridge spans a lush green valley where the forest seems to swallow the concrete. The scene is almost magical, a human bridge embraced by nature. Arriving on El Hierro, the Orchila Lighthouse welcomes us at a historic point. For centuries, this was believed to be the end of the known world. Being there is almost an exercise in imagination, as if you could feel the courage of the ancient navigators. In the island's interior, the Joapira Bell Tower rises, simple and solitary. Its bell no longer calls crowds, but its presence still echoes among the hills. It's one of those symbols that moves you precisely because of its simplicity. Perched on the edge of a cliff, the Hotel Punta Grande impresses not only with its extreme location, but also with the title it holds in the Guinness Book. It's considered the smallest hotel in the world, with just 4 rooms. Isolated, resilient, and embraced by the ocean, its structure seems to defy time and logic. Staying there is like being suspended between sea and sky in an almost surreal setting. Not far away, the Sabina tree reveals an almost sculptural beauty. Twisted by the wind, it looks as if it bent itself to survive. It's impossible not to be moved by how nature can be both fragile and incredibly strong. On La Gomera, the Mirador de Abrante offers a vertiginous experience, a glass walkway suspended over the void. The feeling of walking there is unique, somewhere between fear and fascination. To recover from the adrenaline, nothing beats a natural pool on La Gomera, hidden among rocks and crystal-clear waters. It's as if the sea prepared a secret gift for travelers. And before we say goodbye, we travel back in time on Gran Canaria, at the Christopher Columbus House. It was here that he stayed before his voyage into the unknown. Being in that space is almost like feeling the weight of a moment that would change the history of the world. The Canary Islands are far more than sunny beaches or famous tourist destinations. Every viewpoint, every lighthouse, every colorful village or volcanic landscape carries a unique energy, a fusion of raw nature and human ingenuity. Here, the ocean sets the rhythm of life, and history reveals itself as much in imposing cathedrals as in abandoned ruins. The cuisine of the Canary Islands perfectly reflects the archipelago. Simple, yet intense, marked by ancestral traditions and a constant dialogue between land and sea. In every dish, you can taste the story of a people who learned to transform humble ingredients into cultural symbols passed down through generations. Perhaps the greatest icon of the Canarian table is papas arrugadas con mojo. Small potatoes boiled in salty water until their skins wrinkle, served with vibrant sauces of garlic, olive oil, cilantro, or pepper. Mojo verde is fresh and herbal. Mojo rojo is bold and slightly spicy, while mojo picon brings a fiery kick that surprises the palate. It's simple, but it represents the identity of the archipelago in a single dish: direct, striking, and unforgettable. Another fundamental element is gofio, a toasted cereal flour that dates back to the Guanche peoples, the island's original inhabitants. Versatile, it appears in soups, desserts, or escaldón de gofio, a thick paste that mixes the flour with fish or meat broth. More than food, gofio is a symbol of cultural resilience, a direct link to Canarian history. Among meats, a standout is conejo and salmorejo. The rabbit is marinated in wine, garlic, paprika, and local spices before being slowly cooked, resulting in deep, aromatic flavors. It's a dish that brings family and friends together for special occasions, where the seasoning speaks as loudly as the meat. Stews are also a constant presence. Puchero canario combines meats, vegetables, and chickpeas in a generous pot, while ropa vieja canaria repurposes leftover meat and chickpeas, turning something simple into a dish full of flavor and tradition. There's also garbanzada, more focused on chickpeas, and rancho canario, a robust broth that combines pasta, potatoes, and cured meats. These recipes show how the local cuisine has always prized abundance and resourcefulness. From the sea, the highlight is sancocho canario, traditional during Holy Week, prepared with salted fish, sweet potatoes, and mojo. It's the essence of maritime cooking, salty, intense, and comforting, carrying the memory of families gathered around the table. Cheeses are another point of pride. Made mainly from goat's milk, they range from Majorero, Fuerteventura, and Flor de Guia, Gran Canaria, to Palmero, La Palma. Many are eaten fresh, cured, or even grilled and drizzled with local honey. On La Gomera, the famous almogrote turns cured cheese into a spread seasoned with garlic and paprika, perfect on bread. When it comes to desserts, the islands don't disappoint. Bien mesabe, made with almonds, honey, and eggs, is dense, sweet, and aromatic, often served with cookies or ice cream. Frangolo is a traditional custard-like dessert made with corn, milk, cinnamon, and raisins, home-style, comforting, and rich with nostalgia. Above all, Canarian gastronomy is authentic. It proves that richness isn't about sophistication, but about the ability to turn the simple into the memorable. Each dish carries a piece of the archipelago's history, blending African, Spanish, and Latin American influences while always preserving a distinct and unmistakable identity. The Canary Islands are a piece of the world that surprises at every turn. Each island holds its own identity, but together they form an archipelago that defies labels. Sometimes wild, sometimes welcoming, always astonishing. It's a place where the sea sets the tempo, volcanoes remind us of the Earth's power, and culture shows how humans learn to flourish, even amid extreme landscapes. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these islands made it to the top of your wish list? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to follow the next journeys in our 360-degree series by Real World. See you soon on our next trip.